Thank you. Okay, Representative, thank you so much for making time to talk today. I guess let's first start with the appropriations package that the House passed last week. There were a lot of provisions in there that you helped champion. What do you think are some of the benefits that came from that bill?
Well, Theodora, I think what's most important is that Washington's starting to function a lot more like an Iowa family. That means paying their bills on time and passing budgets that are a better protection for the American taxpayer. And we are very proud. We sit on the House Financial Services Committee. We moved our appropriations bills forward, along with what we're doing for state defense. We're working on transportation as well coming up this week. But in that bill, we went after things like financial fraud, something that many Iowans have reached out and said, this is a direct impact to them. Think of those spam phone calls that show up on your cell phone, or terrified Iowans who have been forced to call our sheriff's department in Dallas County because of tricksters who are trying to defraud them of their money, saying they've got to pay for a bail bondsman when in reality, there's no one they know who's actually in jail. Or worse, artificial enabled fraud that is going after targeted populations, whether they're seniors, veterans, vulnerable populations, trying to steal their money. And so I was proud that I was not only able to pass a budget, but we passed key legislation. My bill, called the Guards Act, makes sure that federal agencies are teaming up with local law enforcement at the state and city level to go after these fraudsters, hold them accountable, and end everything from the spam phone calls to going after and prosecuting those who would be trying to defraud Iowans right here at home.
Why was this something that was important for you to push and to try and get passed?
I've heard from a number of Iowans who say that fraud and threats of fraud have, really taken life savings away from them. There's a number of individuals who, thinking that they're trying to help maybe a family member or a loved one, end up seeing their entire saving account bled out. And for someone on Social Security or a limited income, that is devastating, as well as military members who are being taken advantage of by, fake or pretense financial institutions. With our Guards Act, in tandem with what I'm working on in the House Financial Services Committee, the TRAPS Act, we're bringing in the best parts of a whole of nation approach to this, making sure the banks, the credit unions are working with law enforcement and federal agencies like the Department of Justice and intelligence agencies. The reality is the fraud that is siphoned from this often ends up in the hands of criminal organizations, terrorist elements, and as we saw most recently with our DOJ bust, thousands of people being used as human slave labor in call centers working for organized criminals. These laws will help not only free those individuals, but will protect Iowans right here at home.
And there's also a provision that is going to help small business owners with relieving some of the red tape. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our efforts to relieve red tape for Main Street businesses mean that they are able to file more quickly. They're able to get the loans they requested. They're able to process paperwork, and they're not having the mountain of oversight and regulatory restrictions that have really stymied their ability to be successful right here at home. And with that extra money, it means they can invest in their hometown business and better help all of us be able to get access to the things we need. It was a major provision, and rolling back this level of red tape is exactly what we aim to do for Iowans. Let's get Iowa's best practices out here to Washington, D.C.
And have you spoken to any constituents about anything regarding this? I know you mentioned a little bit about the scams. Have you spoken to some small business owners or even some Iowans that had thoughts on the national security provisions in the bill?
Yeah, so let's not forget that, we just laid to rest two incredible Iowans. We have more Iowans coming home from a nearly 2,000 National Guard Iowa deployment to the Middle East right now. America's national security starting overseas helps protect folks right here in Iowa. Our national security provisions go a long ways to make sure that we're working not only with our allies, but we're also providing the best possible intelligence and the best possible protection for folks like our Iowa National Guardsmen forward deployed. So they have the right equipment, they have the right intelligence to protect them, and they have the best ability to be able to defend our nation both abroad and at home.
And then let's also move on to today being the 1 year anniversary of President Donald Trump's inauguration to his second term. Let's talk a little bit about this last year. What do you think, how do you think his presidency has so far impacted Iowans?
Well, I'll tell you this from talking with Iowans. We have had an aggressive first, 6 months, and now we're seeing the reward for that hard work. First and foremost, we've been able to cut costs for every Iowa family. My goal this year is to make sure that Iowa families have more of their hard-earned dollars in their pocket, not being sent out here to Washington, D.C. We've also been able to make sure that tax cuts are a top tier item for every family, including a $2,000 child tax credit and a $5,000 adoptive tax credit, both things that I led on and we've been able to get out to Iowa families. They'll be seeing it this spring during tax season. Three big aspects of what we were able to do: energy independence. You've seen this already. Gas is already coming down. Nationally, it's under $2.50. Right here in Iowa, it's under $2 in many places. That only saves you money when you fill up the truck or the minivan. It also helps save on supply chain costs, meaning prices start to come down. We're seeing that in real time with interest rates coming down, with the power purchasing dollar that you earn in your pocket, being able to buy more, and success in what people want to do next. That gets to our second point of being able to afford and buy first homes. I'm leading the Rural Homes Act, which the president has identified as one of the top priorities moving forward. We feel very bullish on this. We'll have the opportunity to get more Iowans into homes. And then also we're working on border security. We've seen directly the amount of illegal migration coming across the southern border, going from millions in the last year of the Biden administration to almost zero per month at the southern border today. That is a huge first step in fixing the broken immigration process. Now we've got to get legal immigration fixed so that families right here can be successful. And then the third one, I think this is a really important piece, what we're doing for families in the first 6 months on both the tax incentive, helping businesses be successful here, many of which are owned by Iowa families. That helps in our farms with $66 billion going to farms this year, with another $50 billion going to rural hospitals, much of which invests in our rural county hospitals right here in Iowa. In total, Theodora, we've had real success across the board, and that's just in the first year. I'm excited as we head into our second. We're going to be tackling those things like housing, like costs, and being able to help Iowa families be successful.
Okay, and then now let's look ahead, looking towards the midterm elections. I know there was the Cook political report that came out late last week. It listed Iowa District 3, your district, as a toss-up. Do you have a reaction to that? Are you looking into reports like this? Is it going to change your campaigning for re-election or anything like that?
Well, Theodora, Iowa has always been a state that expects results from its leaders. And I've been proud to be able to deliver for both my first and second term here in a district that is one of the most fairly drawn districts in America. And we've won by, thousands and thousands of votes. We've had great experience being able to work across the aisle with both Republicans and Democrats. I'm proud that I'm the top 10 most bipartisan member of Congress, but I'm even more proud that we're getting real results across the finish line and signed into law. Whether that's President Biden or President Trump, we are delivering for what folks back home are asking for. And that's the most important part of my job here. As we look forward to the midterm election, we're going to be fighting hard as we always do. We have a great history of turning blue districts red, but most importantly, we have a great history of delivering for communities when they've come to us. And as the rest of the country looks at gerrymandering districts, I've been a longtime champion of fairly drawn districts are the best way for members of Congress not only to be responsible to folks back home, but be able to deliver real results. Our next one coming up is the Ban Insider Stock Trading Act. There's 200 million bad reasons why insider trading should not happen in Congress, because that's the number of members of Congress who have made money off of this. $200 million in insider trading has gone on in Congress. I've been the first one to step up and say we need to stop this. I ran on it. We're going to see this bill come to the floor. We're going to start holding Washington, D.C. accountable and be far more responsive to the folks back home who expect lawmakers to serve them versus profit off of them.
And you did mention you were ranked within the top 10 most bipartisan members of Congress. Do you think that reputation is something that's really important to you to show to your constituents?
I do. And I think that that's just who I am. We've gotten the opportunity to serve in the military, and I think service before self is who we are. It matters less what letter comes after your name on the ballot, whether it's an R or a D. I think we should be focused on the fact that Iowans of all stripes want things like affordability for housing, want to be able to live in safe communities where we support law enforcement, want to have a country where we're able to have different ideas, but we still work on solutions that result in things like better education, stronger healthcare services, childcare, all three things which I've been able to lead and deliver. And most importantly, Iowans are excited about getting results across the table. That's why I think this last year in Congress has delivered real wins from everyone from an Iowa farmer to a school teacher, to, a nurse like my mom.
And then just the last two topics here. These are just some national headlines I do just want to get your reaction to. So first, across the country, we've been seeing a lot of ICE protests as a result of the death of Renee Good over in Minneapolis. We even saw a protest last week in the rotunda at the Iowa State House. What is your reaction that you want to share to either the death of Renee Good or even just the protests happening in Iowa and around the country?
Well, I'm very concerned when we start protesting lawful law enforcement. That means that they have a responsibility to detain and to get folks, accountable who have come into the country illegally. For the folks who are doing it the right way, we want to make sure that they have a protected pathway. But I'll be very clear. Here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see our communities turning our backs on law enforcement. For National Guards to be called out by governors to suppress their own people. And I really don't want to see these situations like we saw just this weekend where anti-ICE protesters stormed a religious service because they felt that their voice was more important than the voice of others in their community. We all have a right to First Amendment, both for free speech, but also for freedom to worship. And what I saw happen in Minnesota this weekend, where anti-ICE protesters burst into a church because they believe someone there might have worked for ICE, took over the service, threaten people. Remember, we're just on the heels of a tragic shooting in Minnesota that claimed the lives of children by a crazy person who targeted religious institutions. We need to recognize that while we might not agree on every issue, we should be able to respect differences of opinions in a meaningful way. Having a First Amendment right to protest means doing it in a way that both helps benefit the cause you're going after, not just trying to harm others. We should be able to protect our law enforcement. And for the families up there who are suffering from this, we're also doing things right here in Iowa. I'm proud to say my office has been one of the leaders in making sure lawful immigration cases are being heard. And I think that that's one of the things we want to do for our community. Embrace them, but don't turn your back on law enforcement. Don't storm into churches and threaten your neighbors. We're America. We can do this the right way.
And then the final topic that I want to get to as well, your reaction to everything that's going on with Greenland. The president saying that we need to acquire Greenland for national security purposes. With your background in military, do you support this agenda that the president is talking about?
Well, let me speak to the facts. Greenland is an important part of America's national security defense. It's also an important part of our allies' national security defense. We know there are real threat actors in this space. Specifically, Russia, who is trying to either deter the United States and our allies, or is actually trying to set up forward operating areas in the Arctic, which is going to be a threat directly to the US. Here's my advice to both the president and to our allies. We have a responsibility, as we have done since World War II, to work together to be able to defend all of our people, all of our nations, and our alliance going forward. NATO should be a partner in this. We should not have a deterioration as we head in here. And speaking with the president's team, I am happy to know that as they go to Europe to speak to this issue, the president's laid out a very compelling case that Greenland's got to be part of our national security umbrella. For the folks in Greenland, they've highlighted this as well. I'm confident that both the president and our allies are going to come to a resolution on this. What I am also confident is we're not going to have a military operation or boots in the ground in some type of an invasion of our allies. As a military member, I know strongly that our allies have fought with us at every turn, defended us. We will do the same. Let's reach resolution on there. And candidly, the president is laying out a statement of national security interest. I believe NATO and our allies can come on board and we can work through this together.
Congressman Zach Nunn, thank you so much for taking time out today to meet.
Theodora, thanks so much for your time and congratulations on the new promotion at 13. We're excited for you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Dude, bye.